Trading on the floor of the Nigerian exchange has opened today, and the exchange in London opened an hour ago, and the New York Stock Exchange is yet to open. While in China, opening bells went off at 2 a.m. local time. Welcome to the opening bell. First, let's take a quick look at some business news stories making the rounds, starting from the continental economy. Remittances to sub-Saharan Africa remains. Now, sub-Saharan Africa is set to still be the most expensive region in the world to transfer money to, with an average remittance cost of 8.3% in the second quarter of 2024, which is according to the World Bank's most recent remittance report. And from the global economy, Jones Inc. is to shut down all stores after more than 80 years on the job. And Jones Incorporated, a well-known fabric and crafts retailer, is going out of business and will be shutting down all stores after serving generations of quilting, knitting, and crafting enthusiasts for over 80 years. Details of these stories and more will come to you on Global Business. And away from that, let's jump right into the floors of our four featured exchanges, starting on the floor of the Nigeria Stock Exchange, where the NGX All Share Index, as at yesterday, closed on a high, rising by 0.2% to close at 107,790.00 points, and a total of 245,516,000. And they have 922 shares valued at 8,414,643,469 naira 51 kobo, traded across 10,098 deals with equity capitalization of 67 trillion 179 billion 98 million 593,460 naira 34 kobo. Now, the biggest gainer of the day was Uhurumet, which rose by 9.94%, while other gainers were Alfred Root, Cavron Omatek, and Lasaco. Now, on the other hand, Guineans topped the losers list with a decline of 10%, while other losers were Unicel, TIP, Ohando, and Union Decon. Well, we'll go on a quick break, and when we return, we will look at activities from other selected exchanges, the likes of the New York, London, Shenzhen, and Shanghai exchanges. The Afia Business Morning and indeed Opening Bell will be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back to Afia Business Morning, and you are watching Opening Bell, straight to the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, where it is all rises in index values across board. And you have the NIC composite up by 0.71%, and the NYC US 100 index up by 0.47%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average up by 0.49%, and S&P 500 index up by 0.76%. And the NYC FANG and TM index is up by 2.10%, and the Nasdaq Composite is up by 1.04%, and Nasdaq 100 is up by 0.90%. And to the London Stock Exchange, where it is also all rises in index values across board. The FTSE 100 up by 0.21%, and the FTSE 250 up by 0.41%, FTSE 350 up by 0.09%, and the FTSE All Share Index up by 0.08%. And to the China Stock Exchange, you have the Shenzhen Component Index up by 1.17%. The Size Composite Index up by 1.10%, and Chinext Index up by 1.23%. In China Stock Exchange in Shanghai, you have the Size Composite Index up by 1.02%, SSE 50 Index 0.89%, Star 50 Index up by 0.26%, while the SSE 180 Index is up by 0.94%, SSE 380 Index up by 1.21%, while the CSI 300 Index up by 0.87%. We'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be looking at our commodity prices as well as our consumer prices. Watch in the open market. Do well to follow this program and join in the other conversations in our dedicated Afia Business YouTube channel. Kindly type in the search bar be.com/Afia Business. Do well to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for all business-related content. The Afia Business Morning will be right back.
name is Ubon Kings.
I am Marvelous Akwamaka.
I am Chioma Okbala.
My name is Ifunaya Ndule, but I'm living in a market speaking.
You're welcome back to Opening Bell. My name is Alex Obodo, and it's still the Afia Business Morning, and you're watching Opening Bell on Afia TV. Now it's time to check in on commodity prices. We'll start with precious metals, and it's a downward movement for gold today, and gold was down 1.52%, but silver was lucky to move up 0.31%, but platinum dipped by 0.35%, and palladium also dipped by 1.41%. In the energy sector, we have natural gas dipping by 4.24%, ethanol dipping still by 0.96%. Coal moved up by 1.80%, but oil, that's the Brent crude, dipped by 2.27%. Oil bonylite dipped by 2.84%. The Brass River moved down by 1.62%, but the Kwa Ibo also dipped by 1.62%. Industrial metals, we see a lot of dip in the industrial metals. Aluminium dipping by 0.81%. Lead dipping by 0.78%. Iron ore went down 0.56%. Copper 0.31%. Nickel 1.20%, and zinc 1.66%, and tin 1.67%. You are watching the Afia Business Morning. This is Opening Bell. Do well to follow this program and join in on the conversation on our dedicated Afia YouTube channel. Please type in the search bar www.afiabusinessmorning, and do well to like and subscribe and turn on notifications for all business-related content. Up next will be a look at the hikes and prices of food commodities in the open markets, as well as hikes in fuel prices. And on that note, I will see you tomorrow on Opening Bell when the exchanges reopen for trading. The Afia Business Morning will be right back with Global Business. My name is Alex Obodo. Stay tuned. Thank you for rejoining me on the Afia Business Morning. Welcome to Global Business, where we will take a look at business news stories around the continent of Africa and indeed the rest of the world. My name is Alex Obodo. Welcome. And here are the headlines we are tracking at the moment, starting off from business stories from Africa. Remittances to sub-Saharan Africa remains. And Zone Inc. To shut down all stores after more than 80 years in operation. And CICC to merge with Galaxy Securities to form China's #3 brokerage. We will bring you details of these stories and more after this break. Please stay. You're watching Global Business on the Afia Business Morning. We begin with business stories from Africa, where it is reported that Hyundai Rotem has recently revealed that it has secured a 2.2 trillion won deal with the North African country of Morocco, which entails Hyundai Rotem supplying Morocco with advanced trains as it marks its entrance into the Moroccan market and establishes a new benchmark as the company's biggest railway supply agreement. Hyundai Rotem, the train manufacturing subsidiary of South Korea's Hyundai Motor Group, disclosed that it would be supplying ONCF, that's Morocco's national railway operator, with double-decker electric trains. Meanwhile, prior to this new development, Hyundai Rotem's most expensive contracts were the Australian NIF double-decker train project, worth 1.4 trillion won. Now, the Australian Queensland train supply contract worth 1.3 trillion won, and the Los Angeles Metro train contract worth 900 billion won for the 2028 Los Angeles Summer Olympics. However, the agreement is also likely to strengthen Korea's position in the African railway sector. And when will Nigeria get our own supply of trains? Well, it doesn't matter whether it's from Hyundai. When are we going to get our double-decker trains? Well, I think my colleagues are nodding. They are also wondering when that will happen. But still on business stories from Africa, sub-Saharan Africa is set to still be the most expensive region in the world to transfer money to, with an average remittance cost of 8.37% in the second quarter of 2024, which is according to the World Bank's most recent remittance report. However, despite the rising importance of remittances in the area, sending money home remains expensive due to several middlemen and limited access to digital finance or financial services. Meanwhile, in 2023, the area received $54 billion in remittances, which considerably boosted the economy of numerous nations. And someone want to talk about foreign direct investment, diaspora remittances, especially for a country like Nigeria. Lots of diaspora remittances come in every day. So the question here is, at what cost? How much do you pay to send money home to the loved ones? Could this also bring about a problem with people deciding to send money home when they really discover how much they pay to pay you? And still from Africa, 3 years since the start of Russia's war on Ukraine, the fallout of the ongoing conflict continues to worsen Africa's economic vulnerability and debt burdens. That's according to a report by UK think tank OD Global. Although price shocks in fuel, food and fertilizers have subsided, they appear to be stabilizing at higher levels compared to pre-COVID-19 trends. Furthermore, global inflation has been slowing down since late 2022, but remains high in low-income countries, where lingering price pressures combined with growing risks of trade protectionism mean the economic pain could continue, especially in Africa. I don't know why Africa has to get all the negative statistics. I just believe there has to be a way that this will stop. I hope it stops soon enough. And away from Africa, state-owned China International Capital Corp, CICC, is set to merge with its pair, China Galaxy Securities, in a deal that will create the country's third largest brokerage with $193 billion in assets. A combination of CICC and Galaxy, which would mark the second mega merger in China's $1.6 trillion securities industry in a matter of months, has secured backing from Chinese authorities in recent weeks and could be announced in the coming weeks. Although CICC and Galaxy, which count Sovereign Wealth Fund China Investment Corporation, CIC, as their biggest stakeholder and parent, seek to merge via a share swap, the financial details of the planned transaction were not immediately known. Meanwhile, the combined entity with 1.4 trillion yuan in total assets is set to surpass Hutai Security to become China's third largest brokerage, as the planned deal will require regulatory and shareholder approvals. Well, I just envisage a situation where the shareholders will be quick to approve, because this will mean mega returns for their investment. You are watching Global Business on the Afia Business Morning on Afia TV. Kindly join us in this conversation on our dedicated Afia Business YouTube channel, on YouTube, of course, www.afiabusiness.com. And do well to like and subscribe and turn on notifications for all business-related content. Up next, more business news stories right after this break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Afia Business Morning on Afia TV. You are still watching Global Business. Now to the rest of our stories. Moving on to business news stories from the automobile world. The car giant Stellantis has recalled 68,000 cars produced in France between 2022 and 2024 due to a problem with its PureTech engine's oil jet cooling nozzles, which could cause a fire. This issue mainly leads to noise, but can also cause the engine casing to become damaged, which in turn can worsen the risk of oil spraying onto the exhaust pipe, causing a fire, or just create smoke. However, the car group did not clarify if these issues had already taken place or if there were hypothetical risks. But at the moment, the recall will apply to 2,500 Peugeot 208 models, as well as 57,000 Citroën C3 and 8,700 Opel Corsa cars. Meanwhile, owners of the impacted models will receive a letter from the company asking them to bring their cars to the dealer's garage in order to get an oil filter and oil change, as the process only takes 30 minutes. What about those who bought their cars as Tokumbo? And if those cars have ended up in Nigeria, how will they get a change of that? Or my guess would be that someone may have gone to camp to replace those things by themselves. But those are just, maybe I'm speculating, but that's what I'm suspecting. This for those who bought the cars directly, not for those who bought them as Tokumbo. And now from the world of aerospace, India's largest airline, Indigo, has said it will induct 3 more Boeing 7899 planes in its fleet under a damp lease arrangement with the North Atlantic Airways as it prepares to launch flights to Europe from mid-summer this year. Currently, the Rotterdam-headquartered airline operates 2 wide-body Boeing 777 planes, wet lease from Turkish Airlines to Istanbul from Delhi and Mumbai. However, the 3 aircrafts will be arriving in India in the second half of 2025 and will be serving long-haul routes out of India. And more business stories from the rest of the world. Dock workers on the U.S. East and Gulf coasts have overwhelmingly approved a 6-year contract, averting the threat of a strike that could have crippled the economy. The yes vote was expected after the leadership of the International Longrunmen's Association Union reached a tentative contract agreement in January with the U.S. Maritime Alliance of Ports and Shipping Companies, where the alliance approved the contract last month. And recently, rank-and-file members voted for it with nearly 99% in favor. The contract, however, calls for a 62% pay hike over 6 years that would lift hourly wages at the top of the union pay scale from $39 an hour to $63 an hour. Talk about pay raise there. And in an attempt to end this bulletin, Joan Incorporated, that's it, a well-known fabric and crafts retailer, is going out of business and will be shutting down all stores after serving generations of quilting, knitting, and crafting enthusiasts for over 80 years. The Hudson, Ohio-based company, which filed for Chapter 11 or Chapter 2 bankruptcy protection in January, is its second filing in a year, had previously assured customers that all stores would remain open. However, after struggling with weak consumer demand and inventory shortages, Joan initially announced plans to close 500 stores, more than half of its nationwide locations. Wow, that's a very sad one to tell there. 80 long years of service, and finally, it's going off sad. Oh well. We will follow up with the stories as well as the other stories as they unfold. Get our dedicated Afia Business YouTube channel. Kindly type in the search bar www.afiabusinessmorning.com. Do well to like and subscribe and turn on notifications for all business-related content. You are still watching Afia Business Morning on Afia TV. Coming up next is the Eastern Business Report here on the Afia Business Morning, which will be right back. My name is Alex Obodo. Stay with us.
evening to you, viewer, and welcome to Women in Business, the show that profiles women, executives, and even the next door store owners, showcasing Igbo greatness to the world.
I started always obsessed with books ever since I was a child.
The stress of always converting naira to dollar and
An incompetent means an incompetent person.
My name is Ubon Kings.
I am marvelous Afia.
I am Chioma Okpala.
My name na Ifulaya Ndule, but I'm even a market pikin.
What are your thoughts on the spate of sex for grades in Nigerian universities?
This very issue of owing salary should be criminalized.
How can they amplify their voices?
People don't have evidence.
You want to get to know about it? Have to stay tuned right here on Afia Morning Show to get the pulse and the feel of that.
Hey, ladies.
You're watching the Afia Business Morning, and this is the Eastern Business Report. This segment gives you the latest updates in business trends and policies shaping the economy in the Southeastern region of Nigeria. It comes right after Global Business on the Afia Business Morning. And on today's edition of the Eastern Business Report, we'll be looking at the issue of landlord and tenants. There's been a new law proposed at the Enugu State House of Assembly that the extra charges people pay will have to be moderated. One is the agency fee. In fact, the law is a law to amend the landlord and tenant law, Cap 101. So it seeks to moderate what people pay as agency fee and lawyer fee or legal fee. And it also seeks to abolish caution fee. How would this affect the real estate market in Enugu and on a broader scale, Southeast Nigeria? And then the bigger question will be, how much exactly is this rent we're talking about? And to help me provide some perspective on this is Anichen Roland. He is a financial analyst and CEO, Rugon Capital Limited. He is also an estate valuer. I didn't know that until this morning. Okay, thank you so much, Anichen. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
So, first of all, I'm sure you've heard a lot of talk about the law. It's all over the place in Enugu. So what do you think, first of all? Good intention by the House of Assembly?
Okay, first of all, let me just place this caveat out there. I am an estate surveyor, not yet a valuer.
Okay, estate surveyor, okay.
I read estate management and went straight into banking. So even when I left the banking industry, I did service in an estate firm to process my valuation certificate, but I didn't complete it. I was more or less like fish out of water.
Okay.
Now went back into finance and
great.
Found my stay.
So it's just the analysis that we want. So I'm sure you have the backstory around what the bill seeks to do. What do you think, first of all?
Okay, first of all, we need to trace back what's is driving all this practice, especially exorbitant rents increase, caution fees, all kinds of fees. And I look back to how it's been going on for a while, but I think things have gone with the haywire. And so we should look back to how the Naira was devalued over 400% from 2023, which was about 400 Naira, to over 1,000, to that's about 400%. And so there's not pressure. People's income, investments, savings, completely wiped out. So people are looking for means to recoup their investments and augment their source of income. And so you see pressures like this. It's not, you won't even rule out governments, state governments, federal government increasing taxes here and there, drivers increasing fares, everybody is all increasing fares. So we're more or less like in the same boats, and nobody is moving an inch. It's the same, we're all the same boats, everybody taking from each other, expropriating from each other. So we're all in the same boat, and nobody is moving an inch. That's the sad aspect. Now, I saw the policy or the bill on the net, and I said, okay, this is good, in the right direction, because people are agents, landlords are looking for ways to make extra money above the rent to like augment daily needs, and so people are trying to survive, and so you will see all kinds of what we call, it has triggered animal spirits, behaviors amongst individuals. Within that behavior, you see the greed index rising, and so the policy, this bill is in the right direction. Let's not even rule out the fact that last year, before the last administration exited, Malami and the legal profession came out with an ethics or a rules where all legal documents, fees for which will be 10% flat, irrespective of the amount. And so when I saw this, I was in a WhatsApp forum where I raised an issue. What especially with the lawyers? For goodness sake, how will you guys charge 10%, even on rents or legal or rent agreements or lease agreements, even when that of estate surveyors is 5%? In fact, it's as if all hell was let loose. That's okay. Since you guys more or less like you've ambushed really estate practice because of the position of you drafting legal agreements, and you have the judges to back yours, let's see how the thing will roll. So this bill, I think, will come, is more or less like bring sanity to order. And since it placed a cap on 10%, so everything anybody needs to do in terms of real estate business, agency, lease agreements, land sales, everybody has to conduct themselves around that 10%. So it's a good bill, a right step, right direction to create sanity in the agency market. Unfortunately, it's only in Nigeria, I don't know, maybe other African countries, where agency practice, there's no rule or law regulating it. Everybody runs into it. In America, you call them realtors. It's a clearly professional practice. In England, it's also estate surveyors. So you don't just jump into it. You have to be trained, and you run into it. You even have another class of people that present themselves as facility managers. And we're not like, what is happening? You see, it's a field that's being balkanized by all. And so I saw that the proposed bill, and I said, okay, this is good. Bring sanity to order. The idea of a caution notice. Yes, every building, immediately any building is erected, it starts undergoing depreciation. And so even within the tenancy agreement, there is an obligation of the tenant to take care of repairs inside the building, while the landlord takes care of repairs outside. It's clearly stated. You know, unfortunately, most people are ignorant of tenancy agreements and the rights and obligations or they don't even read it, even when you give it to them. So it's a right step in the right direction. And I want to join my colleagues, the state chapter of Nigeria Institute of Estate Surveyors and Valuers, to put in more inputs.
Yeah, because if the bill had just gone through the first reading at the Enugu State House of Assembly, meaning I interviewed the honorable member that sponsored the bill, Honorable Okemba. He's saying that they are welcome input from all stakeholders, and of course he's free to interact, and knowing that they will still hold public hearing on it. There's still time, and one hopes that your group and other groups that are interested, even the Nigeria Bar Association,
exactly,
they are, just like you've maintained, that they look to be having a stranglehold on the real estate industry, so to speak. So, do you think that maybe the big problem rests with what they do and not necessarily the agents?
Well, by the time there is a discussion and like the public discussion on it, where it will be properly harmonized, then these things will be really spelled out. And I also read the case of there will be registered agents. That has to be known. Even as a registered agent, there are reports you need to send to EFCC on the sales you make, the source of the income, everything, the transaction, everything about it. So, and EFCC has a data of registered surveyors within Enugu State that practice, because you have a case where you need to a SCOMU number to present. SCOMU. So you see, these things has to be properly regulated and managed so that we bring sanity to the real estate practice, and also bring succor to the tenants. I'm also a tenant, while I'm also a landlord in Lagos, and so I'm always very careful in issues like this, because there's some things you do when it gets to the court, you will be messed up completely. You also have cases where landlords take advantage of agency fees, caution fees, legal fees. They eat it up, and are like, hey, this thing is dangerous. You also have tenants. You also have agents also taking advantage of landlords' fees and lawyer fees. So people have to be very careful with the way they handle transactions like real estate transactions, because it becomes a case of, it becomes to a legal case, the lawyers will make a mess of you completely. In fact, if it's found that you're not a lawyer and you prepare a legal agreement and you take advantage of the legal fees, you'll be kept behind bars. So people have to be very cautious in handling real estate transactions. Like I said, you know, the greed factor has driven people towards doing extreme things just to make ends meet, and ends never meet. So I love this bill which is being pushed out there. It's a bill in the right direction to create sanity in the entire real estate market, especially in Enugu State.
All right, so at the heart of this is agency fee, and caution fee, and even the legal fee. So now it's supposed to be 10%. They say it cannot exceed 10%, but it can be lower. That's what the law is proposing. But it outlawed, the proposal is to outlaw caution fee completely. So talk to us about caution fee and why it came into being in the first place.
Okay, I recall saying properties undergo depreciation. And in the Tenancy Act, no matter how beautiful a building is built, it is subject to depreciation. And there will be breakages, damages, faults within the building, both inside and outside. And so you find a case where most tenants do not like to maintain the properties where they live. They just leave it idle. Say, oh, it's not my building. I have to leave one day. And so it's a very bad situation. Something which they should normally, maybe like a broken window or a broken door handle, or the door is bad. It's your responsibility. You find a case, they revert back to the lawyer and say, this thing is sport. And I'm not like, are you not aware that this is clearly your responsibility?
So you are saying that if there's a kind of fault in the compound, it's the tenant that fixes it?
It depends the part. If it's inside the building where you reside, it's clearly your responsibility.
Yes, but if the fence to the...
No, the fence is outside. It's the landlord's responsibility. Or the roof.
So if something happens to the gate?
Landlord's responsibility. It's
well,
clear.
I just have to say this. The landlord said no, then I'm not the one that opens it every morning.
No. This is clearly written. It's clearly written. And so what landlords now do is, because when tenants leave, they're subject to renovation. Maybe painting the walls, repairing broken items, maybe water taps or door handles and all that. So that's what they actually take that money to do. So it behoves on both the landlord and the tenant, or maybe like the tenant, the landlord should include clauses within the agreement that, look, if you're staying more than 4 years, you should be able to have done, if possible, because maybe, or 10 years, you should be able to have painted the entire place again, or do 1 or 2 maintenance. Same also for the landlord. Maybe after 10 years, the building has to be repainted to give it a new look. Which most landlords do. 10 years, 5 years, they maintain their properties very well. So that's this law seeks to eliminate that caution so as to reduce the burden of tenants actually paying for a new for a building they want to move into.
So, if I understand this, it's a bit complicated. The landlord comes to a house where the fence to the compound has collapsed. After he grudgingly rebuilds the fence, he raises his rent. So, I mean, if you have a faulty fence and the tenant keeps telling you that just come and take care of the fence before it falls, and then keeps warning, and then finally you refuse as the landlord to do that, and then the whole stretch of the fence goes down, and then you leave it for a month, 2, 3, 4 before you repair it, and then after repairing it, you start grudging about raising the rent, and you did actually raise the rent. So, whose fault is that?
Okay, now,
if a major damage is about to happen in the compound, and within the purview of what the landlord should handle, and the tenant reports that particular development in good time, for the landlord to intervene from the thing becoming a major or maintenance work, but he refuses to respond.
You know, I mentioned something about animal spirits. It's behaviors of people that tend to make them act in a particular way. The animal spirit was derived by Milton Keynes, an economist. And within it, that animal spirit, you see there's a greed index. So it depends on the greed index of your landlord. Now, tenancy review is subject to 5, 10 years. Sometimes there could be external circumstances that will resort to a sharp review, just like the case of when the Naira tanked 400%. So virtually almost most tenancy reviewed rents. Same also for me. Same also for my own tenants. It's basic. So you can't take the old rent when the Naira has tanked. More especially if you have not reviewed the rent for a long while. So it depends on, you cannot say what individual landlords will do. It's a function of the greed index of each landlord and understand it. Then rent review is rent properties are investments of owners. You should see it as an investment. And so the tenants should also look at it as the investment of the landlord. And so the best approach is a negotiation, and you all agree, which is good. I've done that with my tenants, I've done that with my landlords. You can't deny the landlord to review. So, but the most important thing is a peaceful resolution so that you sit down, discuss. Most tenants are willing to listen. It's not a dictatorial thing, because you don't increase rent which your tenant will not be able to pay. That's the worst. It's a bad aspect. So when you increase rents beyond the resources of the tenant, how do you think the next person coming in will be able to sustain it? So there's a saying that the devil you know is better than the angel which you don't know. If you have a tenant that has been faithful with you all these years and has been paying timely, why do you need to kick him out? Because you want to increase the rents so that you now get a new person. What's the belief that you get somebody that will be reliable and will pay the new rents? That's the big question. So every landlord has to be very careful, because everybody is going through this economic challenge. So when you think, okay, you want to kick him out, what's the guarantee that the next tenant that is coming in, he will pay your first rent? To renew it becomes a problem. And ejecting that tenant out is another long story entirely. So most times, most landlords will have to incur heavy losses. That is when you now you miss chances of ejecting an old tenant that has been faithful. Then also, for tenants even leaving is also a very big cost. So everybody has to sit down and agree, because it's not a win-win for both parties.
Yeah, but do you think there is some kind of overpricing in the real estate sector? There's been a lot of talk. There is a guy who's now on Instagram lashing out at realtors and even property owners about even those who price their choice properties in foreign currency. In fact, it's flagging them and reporting them to the EFCC. And if you build a house and then you put what everyone will believe is an unrealistic rent on it, I mean, who do you expect to live there? Especially in Enugu. Who do you expect to live in that house? Yes, you built it, but then the rent you have put there, only maybe one-off tenants can come in after living for that 1 year. There will be a problem with renewing, just like you've said. Who lives there when it's overpriced?
Well, it's a big problem in the real estate market where properties are overpriced, rental values overpriced, and maybe it's more or less like a perception of what the market is saying. So, at a stage, the prices will fall to a level, and it's more or less like they missed chance or missed opportunities. Sometimes it could be maybe one-off sale, and maybe you're lucky you got a buyer at that price. Sometimes you might not get. And so it's neither here nor there. But the most important thing is, if the supply of properties increases, prices will drop. But because we know property has a long gestation period, building additional housing to take care of the glut or the shortage in the market, it takes a long time.
So
a very, very long time.
You think the government should build more low-cost houses?
Even if they can't build, just create sites and services. You will see people will flock into those areas and raise buildings. I don't know, I think I was in your show where Enugu State should expand towards Ebonyi State, towards Nsukka, towards Anambra, towards Abia. You decongest the center with the right services. Look at Anambra, it's not a village again. I was in Oka recently and my friend told me his village is just 15 minutes. And I asked him, then what are you doing here? Paying through your nose. So you could see it's a deliberate plan by in Anambra, where apart from their ingenuity and their strength, you could see everybody taking businesses to his village. You even see them taking industries to their village, and I'm like, this is a bold attempt. And for Enugu State, it's long overdue, where, more especially the M&A axis, is still stunted. So it needs to be opened up.
Absolutely.
It needs to be opened up so that property values drops. It might not crash,
all right,
but it will drop.
It's still an ongoing conversation, and I'll still get you to provide some perspectives as the issues progress out there in public domain. That's the size of the package today on the Eastern Business Report. Very many thanks to you.
Thank you very much.
Aniche Roland is a financial analyst and the CEO of Ruben Capital Limited. You are still watching Afia Business Morning live from Enugu State, Nigeria. Kindly join in on this conversation and watch live right now on our dedicated Afia Business YouTube channel. Kindly type in the search bar www.afiabusinessmorning as afiabusiness.com. Do well to subscribe and turn on notifications for all business-related content. Coming up next is Onyafia. My name is Alex Obodo. Good morning.
Hey ladies, join us on Gyna Plus every Wednesday at 6 p.m. right here on Afia TV, DSTV channel 254 and GoTV channel 17, where we will delve into health issues affecting girls and women in society.
Breastfeeding doesn't even cause breastfeeding. The frequency of breastfeeding determines the approach you take to make sure that your well-being is maintained.
Welcome to the latest and most amazing show on your.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lunch Break.
You don't sing along.
I did single.
For real.
You're not a backup singer.
That's what they do.
It's a brand new week and another opportunity for us to gist and need to tell you, bring all the spice, all the things that are hot, trending and exclusive on social media. Sometimes I know there's constructive criticism